our participants. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us today. It's wonderful to seeing you all joining. Hi, my name is Ayushi, a performance specialist at Udacity. In my role at Udacity, I oversee multiple initiatives, manage day-to-day operations across the School of Programming and School of AI. I have more than 5 years of experience in the edtech sector, and it's truly my honor to contribute to the growth and success of our learners here at Udacity. Welcome to our digital deep dive series. These webinars here are designed to deliver value that goes beyond the core curriculum, offering you opportunities to explore impactful advancements, shaping industries and careers. Through these webinars, you'll gain actionable insights, advanced skills, and inspiration to stay ahead in your field, all guided by the exceptional expertise of our mentors. I'm delighted to introduce my co-host, Karan Wazirani, a vital member to our internal team at Udacity. He oversees operations for the School of Business, ensuring a smooth and enriching experience for both students and mentors throughout their journey. Thank you, Karan, for all that you do. It's my absolute privilege to introduce our today's speaker, Mr. Mayur Madnani, a truly remarkable mentor in his journey with Udacity. Mayur has not only graduated from multiple AI-focused Nanodegree programs, but has also completed over 2,100 project reviews. Beyond being an invaluable member to our mentor community, he has also contributed as an instructor for one of our Udacity's AI courses. With a wealth of expertise spanning software development, data science, and AI, Mayur has been an integral part of the Udacity family since 2020. Thank you, Mayur, for being here with us. We're excited to have you share your valuable knowledge and insights with us. Before I hand it over to Mayur, please note that this webinar will be recorded. Moreover, if you have any questions, kindly use the Q&A tab that you can see below for any queries. These will be answered at the end of the webinar. Please note, we will not be taking up the questions from the chat box. The floor is all yours, Mayur.
Thank you, Yoshi. Thank you, Udacity team, for giving me this opportunity. Okay, a brief about me, and then we can get started. So I've been with Udacity for close to 4+ years now, being a mentor, being a session lead, and multiple roles and responsibilities in that area. So I like teaching, and that's where I'll be taking this webinar today and give you a quick walkthrough about what generative AI is, how can you really leverage it, and look at some good examples that you can showcase as well, right? With that said, let's begin. I'll start sharing my screen. Give me a minute. Okay, hope the slides are visible. Awesome. So let's start. Before we begin again, quickly introducing myself. So I've worked with different companies like SAP, Walmart, Intuit, and Y Combinator currently. Different domains, e-commerce, taxation, media, right? Bring a wealth of experience into software, data, and AI technologies. I have multiple research papers and patents on my name. So, and also been an industry mentor for quite some years. I have also created a course along with Udacity. So I'll share the link if anyone is interested. Please feel free to, join by. All right. So with that said, let's begin. What is AI, first of all, right? So we have different broad categories of AI that we have seen over the years. We started with something very basic, the classical ML style, which had different categories, broad categories, like let's say regression, where you would do some forecasting, create some trend lines. And then you also had classification kind of algorithms where you would do spam classification. Is the email spam or not? Is a customer going to churn or not, right? And you had some clustering algorithms. These were the basic classical ML techniques that we had over the years. When we go back in the history lane, it's not that these are not relevant as of today. They are still relevant. It just is a matter of which use case are you looking at. So many of the use cases still use the classical ML techniques, and we'll see where other techniques are more applicable, where ML is more applicable. Right. So talking about deep learning, again, a good example that I would like to share is in COVID time, everyone was using mobile phones to unlock. For example, you had face recognition call it in your iPhones or Androids, right? But most of those applications would not work for quite a few months until new updates came in by the manufacturers. And why was that the case? Because you had mask on every time, and with your mask on, your mobile devices were not able to recognize you. So what was that technology behind which powered your face recognition systems? That was deep learning. So we initially had complete face being trained to the model, and then it was able to predict you. But then with mask and spectacles on, there were some obstacles, right, to predict. And that's where, with more refinement, you were able to achieve that as well. Those are some deep learning applications. There are also language translation that you would see, like be it English to French or Spanish in real time, right? Those are deep learning applications as well. And yeah, again, a broad set of use cases can be solved with deep learning also. Moving on to reinforcement learning, that's how human nature has also evolved from your childhood. You basically do not start walking on the first day itself. You first start crawling, you fall down, and then you start walking, then you start running, right? That's the approach behind reinforcement learning as well, where you keep giving rewards on every action that you take. If it's a positive reinforcement that you want to deliver, so you'll give a positive reward, otherwise you go negative. And that's how the agents are able to learn and navigate through the real-time use cases that you would present to it. More broad applications that you would see in reinforcement learning are specifically around self-driving cars. Let's say a very good example here is self-driving cars and robotic agents that you have. So those are the reinforcement learning categories. And now coming to the main agenda of today's talk, which is generative AI. Now, what exactly would generative AI be? That's where so a very naive way of presenting that is you create something out of thin air, right? That's what generative AI is good at, creating content, for example, or understanding some content without being able to getting trained on that particular data set, right? That's your generative part, which the models are good at. But how does that happen? We'll have some walkthrough over it. But before we go there, between these four categories that we see on the screen, be it machine learning, deep learning, reinforcement learning, and generative AI, what we have seen as a trend is if you have a machine learning application, be it a regression, a forecasting example, or a clustering example, or a deep learning where you looked at, for example, face recognition as a use case. In reinforcement learning, we looked at self-driving cars, and generative AI is more about creating content, for example, right? What you see is we move from a narrow domain. So when you say forecasting, machine learning is very specific to one particular use case, one particular problem statement, and it's able to do really good in that particular problem itself, right? But applied into a different problem, it would fail in a very miserable manner. Move on to deep learning. You do not explicitly tell the features that it is required to work on, but basically the network is capable enough to find out the features by itself. And that's the deep learning part that model brings on. Reinforcement learning, again, you just need to understand how to reward the model, what are the good behaviors, and the model will be able to regress over at time to time, play more with the environment, and then generate better rewards and be better at the skill. In fact, even many games which required quite a lot of intellect to work with, be it a chess or Go, have been beaten by reinforcement learning examples as well. You would see a lot of such talks as well. In terms of generative AI, it's about creating content, right? And here you are not specifically training it for, let's say, spam classification or predicting some time series or predicting a stock price in future. It's a general model that is applicable to any problem statement that you give it to. That's the core idea behind moving from a narrow problem statement specific use case from ML side towards a general trend where a single model is able to get applied into different problem areas, right? So you have a single model and you can apply it to different problem statements. And that's the more generic approach that we are headed towards as a AI navigation happens over the years. With that said, let's quickly jump on to different demos that we'll be looking at. And these would be specific to generative AI because that's the focus of today's talk. So let me quickly, let me show you the familiar screen that everyone would have seen from the past 2-3 years. this is the ChatGPT environment I am in. And again, I am in the free tier, so you should be able to follow along with me. What I'll be doing is I'll open a few sites and then we'll see how can we quickly build a running prototype, right? So first of all, what I'll be asking ChatGPT is to, create a landing page for me to represent my portfolio online, right? And I want you to give me a vanilla HTML, CSS, JavaScript implementation. Share the 3 files with me, right? Okay, let's see what content is generated. And again, nobody can predict what answer would come in, but let's see if it is working or not. I'll quickly come on to editor, and here we will see what is getting generated. So today we are doing the second webinar. So I have another folder created. All of this code will be available to you on GitHub. So you'll be able to play around as well, right? Let me create a sample folder and we'll copy paste whatever is getting generated. Index.html. Then we have, okay, let's wait for some time because it's still getting generated. Okay, so the first file is ready. Let's copy it again. All right. Here's the second one, styles.css. Okay, and here's the third one, script.js. All right, so we have 3 files ready and this should hopefully create a portfolio site for me. Let's run and see if it works. So I'm creating a live server and hopefully it, okay. So here I am in the browser. Let's refresh the page. I just created the sample folder and it had the index CSS and the JavaScript file. Let's see what it has created. Okay, so it has created a basic portfolio site. It has about section. When I click on it, it gives me a brief introduction and there is some description. We can fill this out later as well, right? But the idea is you have a landing page generated. You have some projects which are blank as of now and a contact page, right? So you have a basic portfolio site ready. Now, let's say I want an image also for me to get generated, right? So we'll use a website called this person does not exist. And whichever image you see, these people actually do not exist, right? Every time you refresh, you will see a new image getting generated. And all of these are AI generated images. So let's use image here. I'll save it. I'll say me.png. Okay, and when you save, you will see a new image getting generated, not the one that you actually saved, because it's again a new image which generated by the AI every time, right? So, okay, now what I'll do is I'll say, I'll just copy that image that I have pasted. Okay, 1 second. Because I am in my Ubuntu machine, I need to copy it from here. Okay, so here's my me.png. Let me go back and I'll paste the image here. I'll say use this image in the header and update the files. So what I have to also do is I'll put the same image in the same folder so that it can reference it, and we'll just copy paste the HTML file. Okay, so the generation is kind of ready. We'll update the CSS files. Okay, so there's no change in script.js. Okay, Cool. So when I go back to the website, you can see the image coming in and there are some modifications done. I can see a button also generated it. So what we have done now in the last 5 minutes is we just used natural language. I used English and I used a tool called ChatGPT and it was able to create a professional site for me. Now let me take it a step further. If you all know a website called JSON Resume, it's a standard format which allows you to have a standard way of representing JSON resumes using JSON files. So we can actually go to their GitHub page and take a sample which is available. For example, okay, so this repository should have a sample CSV file, CV file. So I'll just copy this content and let me download this actually. Okay, so I've downloaded it. Similarly, what you can do is you can generate your own CV file. So that will be used for your professional site that you will generate. I'll just use this as a sample so that we save some time in this demo. I'll say now let's use the content from this file and generate the landing page, right? Let's see if it works. Okay, so it has read the document and it is trying to generate now the landing page with the profile picture that I had shared before, me.png, and the content is coming from the file, right? So let's search this name. Is this name familiar? So that's the file we uploaded. This is the name. So it has correctly read the file and it is generating content around it. Hopefully now we should have some projects also to showcase, right? If the file is ready, okay, HTML file is ready. I'll just copy that first. All right, HTML file is done. CSS file is ready. And we have the JavaScript file. Cool. Let's reload the site. And you see a working site. And whenever I try to, resize the window, you will see that it is responsive as well. So you'll see the responsiveness also because it's a proper working site. And let's see if projects are coming in. Okay, so we have some projects also added. There are links which are working as well. This is how you can quickly build a landing site. Now let's take it a step further. What we did was we spoke in English, the content came out and we kept on copy pasting, right? Can we do better? So the answer is of course yes. Let's see how. So I'll go to the programming mode. I'll open a file here. And what we need to do is we need to have API access to ChatGPT, which I have done already. And I'll show you the way we are representing that. So let's wait for the Python environment to come up. Okay, so what I have done is I have created a sample configuration file where you can go ahead and fill in your values, right? So what I'm using is Azure OpenAI service to show you these demos and where we'll be adding key endpoint and then I've deployed GPT and DALI. GPT is used for what we saw just now, the chat GPT side of it, and DALI is for image generation, right? So you have to create the models and deployments would be there. You'll have to add the values here, key endpoint and the values that you'll see. Of course, I cannot share my API credentials. That's why this is a sample attached, but let me load the file that I was looking at and we should be able to proceed further. So just give me a second. I'll load the files. Okay, so I have my configuration in this particular location. And once I read that, I have a section which is very similar to this. I have a default section, and then within that default section, I have the same configurations, right? I have Azure OpenAI key, Azure OpenAI endpoint, GPT, and DALI deployment specific details. Now let's use it to create again a professional site in a more programmatic and a better way that you would be looking at. So let's import some libraries. And there are some utilities that I've created. I'll quickly explain what these are, and then we'll jump on to the hands-on coding of this. So this is a client, which basically is a Azure OpenAI client. We'll be using this to interact with our conversations, right? I am also uploading an image in the future code sections. So for that, I have a encoding utility, which basically reads the image, creates a base64 encoding so that the model can understand what I'm sending it. Moving forward, I have a GPT vision call. So I am using the deployment section that I have provided earlier. Using that, the model can be recognized by the system. And I also have some messages that I'm passing in, right? Message would be basically a prompt that I'll send in. And this is the format we can communicate with OpenAI in the programmatic manner. And next is the call for DALI, where I'm specifying a size that I want the response to be in, the response image size, and then giving it a prompt as well, right? Once we have the image, we also need to save it. So we use this utility to save the image. Now let's actually come to the portfolio site. We looked at the CV example. I'll be using the same CV. What we need to do is capture the CV here. So I'll create, okay, so in the live demo, I'll create a cv.json file and I'll paste the same content that we saw before. This is the content. Okay, so we have the CV file and I also need a profile picture, which I believe I have not captured yet. So I'll go back to this site, refresh the page, generate a new image and say me.png. Cool. So we have this photo generated and we'll put it in the same folder so that we are able to move forward. All right, so let's read the CV file. We have the data read. And let's read what are the skills that this person possesses, right? Because we are generating the site around it, so we should know what skills the person has. So the person knows HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and many other frameworks, more on the front end side. What I'll be using now is called DALI as a service to generate a clean landing page portfolio site. So this will generate an image for me, and I'll be using this image as a template so that GPT has a reference of what kind of website do I want. Again, what you can do is create your own uh, design and then upload that to GPT so that it can work on top of it. But I'll be using DALI here to save some time. So we have a URL. If I go to this URL, I should be able to see the image that was generated. So this is how the website would look like, the design which the DALI has created. Let's open the image here in the notebook itself. And once I have, okay, so the image, the design image is here. Let's save this also. And I'm saving it as template.png. You'll see the file generated here in a while. Okay, so we have template.png. Now let's move on to the GPT call. I'm passing the image as a reference and giving this prompt. Take inspiration from the attached image and create a static single page, include a portfolio picture, me.jpg in the header. Let's make it me.png because that's my file name. Only respond in JSON format where each key is the file name, index.html, style.css, and script.js. And each value is corresponding file content, right? So basically I should get a response something like this, where I'll have the file names and the content of the files as their values. Why would this format be required? We'll see that in the later section, but let's ask for a response. Okay, so what you really need to also know, apart from being good at prompt, is patience, because it takes a while. So it took 30 seconds, for example. Now we have the response and it is in the format that I asked for. I have the JSON kind of a format, and inside which it has index.html. Similarly, it would have more such files, right? Why was this format required? Now let's come to that. If I look at the format, it starts with 3 backticks and then I have JSON. So basically these are 7 characters. And after this is my actual content. I'm looking at this JSON file, right? The JSON content of it. So if I start from the 7th character, which is this new line character, and move on till the end where I have the last three backticks. If you notice, I had three backticks as well. So if we look at the content within the three backticks, I have the actual JSON content, which is what I'm interested in. So I'll do some string slicing and get the actual portfolio. This is my actual portfolio content, which I've received from the GPT. Now let's try to load it in JSON format. And these are the three files it gives me: index.html, style.css, and script.js, right? So for now, what I'll do is I'll create a portfolio folder. It's empty as of now. And because I have the file names and the file content, I'll simply say save them in portfolio folder, right? As simple as that. I did not have to copy paste as we did in the ChatGPT version. I have the files ready. And once I go in this location, let's see what kind of site did it generate. So I'll go back to to the live folder that I had, and we created this portfolio folder, right? This is the site it created, and of course image did not load because image is outside the folder. Let me put it back. Cool. So here's our image, and good enough, we have a landing page ready, right? If you're not happy with it, maybe you can play around with the prompt and get more customization done out of it. So this is how you can use it programmatically. What was the benefit that you saw, right? You could also do it in ChatGPT, kind of a chat-based interaction mode. So why go the programming approach here? The reason is you save a lot of manual effort. You can automate a lot of things and make it more customizable and tunable to your needs. There's a lot of control that you get with the API route as well, because in the chat GPT world that you see, right, you do not have a lot of control on what kind of response you would get. But here I can actually customize. I can make the response in a particular structured format. I can control the hallucination aspects of it, which are of course out of the scope of this webinar, but then you get a gist of what I'm trying to suggest here. Okay, so that's about the GPT part, giving you a portfolio landing page, right? We can generate again another response, and let's see what would it generate next time. Again, a lot of patience. Let's wait another 20 seconds maybe. All right, so we have new content. Let's read it. Okay, it's able to pass that as well. Let's have the files ready. I'll clear the previous one so that we are on a clean slate. I'll keep the profile picture as is. Okay, so it's just the profile picture. And now I'll say save the content. The three files are saved. Let's go back. And all right, looks very similar. Okay, something changed here. And if you notice, it's not in English because maybe it read that, okay, it's a different language, and it created the resume in that language as well, right? So that's another personalization aspect that GPT did for you. Cool. So I'm happy with the result. I'll keep it this way, and I'll move on to another demo that we have for you. So we'll look at a site. Maybe all of you know this company, Apple. It creates iPhone and iPads, right? But they took many years to just create a simple calculator for iPad, let's say, right? So we'll try to see if we can use generative AI and do something that Apple took so many years, and maybe do it in 10 minutes. So let's see if that works. I'll save this image. I'll say, okay, I have to do it in the Linux browser. Okay, so I will save the image. I'll say calc.png and go back to the code. I'll move the CV file here so that we are working on the next demo. And I believe template can also go there. Okay, so let's create another folder called calc. We'll create a calculator here, and I'm pasting in the image inside it. So here I'm opening the image just for your reference. This is the image we just saved. And what we'll be doing is you'll read the image and you'll say you are an experienced software developer. You have the attached image. Create a functional app with the same characteristics, color, shape, etc. Right? Use vanilla HTML, CSS, JavaScript to do so, and respond in JSON format. Hopefully everyone knows by now by why are we using JSON format, because we could automate and do a lot of things with that, right? And notice I'm not specifying what kind of files do I want. I am just saying I want the JSON format where it would be a file name and file content. I could explicitly say I need index.html. I could explicitly say I need style.css, but let's keep it open-ended for now and let's see what gets generated. So here's the call to it. Should be ready. Yeah. Okay, so we have the JSON file again in the similar format, 3 backticks, 1 JSON. So 7th character onwards I'll read and last 3 characters I'll skip. This is my JSON content. Let's see if the files are there. So I have index.html, styles.css, and script.js, right? You see the folder just has the image as of now, and we'll save the files. Okay, so we'll save the files and you should have the files available. Let's go back and see if we did something that Apple took so many years. Refresh the folder, we have calc. Okay, it looks a lot jumbled, but is it functional? Okay, so it was able to clear. I'll do 7 plus 2 equals 9. So, okay, the calculator is working, but doesn't look really good, right? So I'll be very explicit and say you have the attached image, create a functional app, and I should say orientation as well, for example. Ideally, if you rerun, it would have maybe created a better design, but let's be explicit here. Okay, so we have the response. Let's see if we're able to pass. Okay, so we have this ready. These are the files. Okay, this may happen sometimes. And as you notice, we are not able to pass the JSON, right? In that case, the simple answer to your questions would be rerun. That should save a lot of effort. And I'll delete the previous files so that we do not jumble up. Yeah, so you cannot predict what kind of response you'll get. And the best way is to just rerun and see that it works next time. All right, so this time it worked. I have the 3 files available and I'll save the content. We have the files ready. Let's go back. Cool, so looks good. I'm happy with this design and it is hopefully working. No, it is not. Okay, so again, we'll use the same approach we studied a while back. We'll rerun. It takes a bit of playing around and you see how innovative it is in the responses, but also it takes some time to get familiar with what you want really. All right, so hopefully it is able to do the operations now. Yes, so we have a functional website. Let's add and see it is working, right? So yeah, this is your calculator application. Again, some companies take years to launch something like this, but you have done it in maybe 10 minutes with 2 retries, right? That's all it took. So let's take another example and then I'll open up to questions that you might have because these are very, all right. So in this example, I have a wire flow. And in this wire flow, it's basically a banking application you may take that way, which has a login page. Once you log in, you would have a option to enter in your username and password. Once you're able to do that, if you've successfully logged in, then we are looking at the accounts page. You can click on credit card balance and you'll see the balance, right? If you are not able to log in, then you'll have an option to try it again. And if you are able to log in, then you see the balance again. If not, then you retry. After 3 times, it would ask you for resetting the password. If you send the email correctly, then it checks in the database. If there is a match, you get the reset link in your email, and then you are able to sort of reset and move forward, right? If not, then basically there's no entry for you. So this is how the wire flow was designed. And why would somebody design this wire flow, right? So let's say you are working in a startup or a company which is sort of trying to launch a new app. You have a designers team who have created this design and given you. Now, as a developer, you want to create code, right? So first thing you would do is, as software development lifecycle goes, you would generate flowcharts and then work on your actual design, so that there is transparency in what kind of activities you are doing. Now, you could do it manually, try to understand the wire flows and generate flowcharts. And what we would be doing today is we'll use generative AI assistants here to do some heavy lifting for us. And for that reason, I'll again come back to the demo. And I would say that I have the wire flow image captured. Let's see if I have that captured. So I'll use the same image that we just saw, right? I'll copy this into the folder that we are working on. And I'll create a new folder called, let's say, flowchart, pasting in the image here. Okay, so we have the wireflow image, and let's read it first. Okay, so here's the image, the same image we just saw, and we'll call ChatGPT with that image path. And I'll say, you are an expert product manager, create a flowchart from the wireflow image, think step by step, share the mermaid code. Now, what is this mermaid code? We'll just look at it in a minute, but let's see what kind of response does ChatGPT give me. Okay, so here's what it responded, and I'll quickly show you. This is what the response looks like, right? So to create a flowchart based on the provided wireflow image, I'll translate the steps and decision points into a Mermaid diagram. Here's the code. And it gave me something again with backticks, right? This is the code. And then it says this flowchart provides a visual representation of the process depicted in the wireflow. Okay, so I have something within 3 backticks. Last time I had JSON, like 3 backticks, JSON, and some content, right? That was my whole response. I did not say explicitly just return me the mermaid code. So it gives some descriptions as well. So this time I'll show you a bit of complex string parsing that you would do as well in real world. So here's my response that I had received. And I'll say, wherever you find the backtick, start from there, and where you see the ending backticks, and there, that's my code. I am interested in that part, right? Let's see what did it pass. Okay, so here's my mermaid code. What is this basically? Whenever you are creating GitHub files, for example, or any README files in Markdown format, this is easily parsable, and you are able to generate flowcharts directly with mermaid code, right? Here's how it would look like. This is the exact flowchart we were expecting, and it is available to you within a couple of prompts. So we started here. There's a login page. Once you log in, if you log in successfully, you choose the action, which is view account, and then you are able to see the credit card balance. If not, then you have the password reset flow where you would verify email address, enter it. If it is valid, reset. Otherwise, go back. So this is your flowchart from the image that we sent, and GPT was able to make sense out of it and generate the flowchart for you, right? I can actually copy this flowchart content and save it into a file, and I'll show you what did I mean by the readme part, right? So this is a .md file, which is a markdown file. And when I try to preview it, you would see that I'm able to generate the visual representation as well, right? This is something taken care for you directly by the engine, markdown engine, and nothing for you to worry about. So these were the 3 demos I wanted to showcase. I'll quickly recap what all we looked at today. Okay, so we started with a landing page where you are able to portray or display your information to the wider world, and you took help of GPT for that and created a website out of the box, right? So we used a sample JSON file which had a resume generated, a minimalist generalist resume, you may call it, and we created a website out of it. Next, we looked at something that some companies take years to launch, and finally, how can you automate some of your daily processes, like creating flowcharts out of wireflows, right? There could be many more applications. Again, because of time constraints, we could look at only 3, but that's the potential that generative AI holds, and you are able to quickly productionize and be very productive using such technology. Right. So that's what I wanted to share. And before I end, I have a sample as well for you guys. So if you go to this GitHub page, which I'll be sharing in a minute in the chat. So I have some samples created also, the portfolio landing page, calculator, and the wire flow to flowchart that we just saw, right? What we looked at today will go in the live to folder, but I took some extra time and played around more with generative AI, and I'll show you what kind of outputs can you expect with that, right? We looked at one prompt, one response, but if you play around more and sort of get a good hang of how it works, you are able to create something more beautiful. That is what we'll be looking at now. So give it some time and you are able to generate a portfolio website like this, right? Let me refresh and you'll see some animations happening here in the profile page. You see the profile page rotating and coming to the front, giving a lot of focus. There is some transition to the text as well, to the name. And this is the same CV file that we copied, right? The same plus 15 years of experience as a web developer. These were the skills we looked at. And you have some timeline kind of a work experience that you see and the projects, right? Now this was a standard design. I thought, why not let's be innovative and create a minimalist design also, right? So this is a minimalist design. And over the years, what I've seen many people share is, for example, somebody's applying at Amazon, they'll have a website which looks like Amazon page, right? Or if somebody is applying at Netflix, they'll create a website which looks like Netflix. So you can get some theming and personalization done as well. And that's again the power that you can have just talking in English and GPT creating something out of the box for you, right? Or you could also apply to Facebook, for example. So this is what I had in mind, and I gave it some time and created this portfolio landing page, which I am happy to share with you guys. This is available in the GitHub page that you see here. And this is not the end. You can create something more beautiful. So use it as you feel. All right. So with that said, I'll stop here and give back for any questions.
Thank you so much, Mayur. So this is Q&A time. So if you have any questions, please put up in the Q&A tab. We'll take it right now. We have one question from an attendee. Can you explain the initial setup for this Python to ChatGPT quickly once?
Python to ChatGPT.
The setup made for that.
Okay, I'll share the screen again. Okay, so what I did was going back to the demo file that I created. So I had a configuration file where it has all the key and credentials that I'll put in. I cannot share it, of course, in the live demo. So that's why I have it in a different file. But then basically it should look something very similar that you see here. Put in your files here. I have deployed it on Azure OpenAI service. So you have to just copy paste the key and endpoints from there, do your GPT daily deployments. Your values would change and you can simply start using. I am using OpenAI package itself that is available from the company, and you can use Azure OpenAI. Once you have the client ready, it's the same calls that you would make, the API calls.
Thank you so much.
This requires a bit of programming experience. If you do not have it, I also gave a demo on how you can do it in ChatGPT, right? So that should come in handy for people who are not very familiar with programming, but you have both the approaches available for you.
Amazing. So there's Marco who is asking that the generated image for the portfolio image looked quite different from that was generated by AI.
Mm-hmm.
So is this the usual behavior, and what would be the use case for the generated code?
Okay, so as I mentioned, every time you refresh the page, you will see a new image, right? That's again, somebody out has created this website and has kept it live running. So you can just go to that website, which is this person does not exist. And every time you refresh the page, you will see a new image. That's why you cannot just see that image, save it, and you will see the same one. You will see a new one every time.
Thank you so much. I think, is the portfolio example, do we receive the resources and files to run this demo? I think yes. Everything is shared with you all.
Yes. So I've shared this GitHub link in the chat. You can go ahead and start accessing the code as well.
Yeah, I think that's all for now. To all the participants, if you still have any more questions, do feel free to use the link in the slide deck question form. We will receive the questions from you through this form, and then we'll try to share the answers with you. Before we wrap up, let me share the details about our next session, which will be held on Tuesday, that is 10th of December. And there we will talk more about LLMs, the vector databases and RAGs. So before you go, okay, also we have our Black Friday coupon still with us, 3 days to left. Do feel free to enroll. Before we go, I'd love to hear your feedback for today's session. Do provide us feedback. When you exit this webinar, you'll have a browser. On the browser, you'll see a pop-up, and then there you can fill up the form. Thank you so much. I think we are good to go. Take care. Bye-bye.